4 years into the Deion Sanders era at Colorado, and I swear people are just looking for any excuse at this point. Any little thing, any moment they can twist into a problem. And this latest one, this might be the wildest reach yet. I'm scrolling through social media, minding my own business, and suddenly my timeline is exploding. People are furious, absolutely losing their minds. And I'm thinking, okay, what happened? Did Colorado get caught cheating? Did someone get in trouble? Did Coach Prime say something controversial? Nope, none of that. People are mad about a practice drill. A football practice drill. You read that right. An accountability exercise that happens at literally every competitive football program in the country is now somehow a scandal because it happened at Colorado. The video shows players standing in a circle. If someone made a mistake during practice, committed a penalty, missed an assignment, they step into the middle. They tell the team what they did wrong. They say, "My bad, guys," and take ownership. Then they do 5 up-downs as a consequence. That's it. That's the whole thing. And the internet lost its mind. The comments came flooding in immediately. Everything they do is for the camera. This program is a joke. I would never let my kid play there. This is toxic culture. On and on and on. People who have probably never stepped foot on a football field suddenly became experts on coaching methodology and team culture. Here's what's wild though. This isn't new. This isn't some experimental technique Deion invented. This is basic football. Actually, it's beyond basic. This is fundamental. This is how teams have been building accountability for decades. But because it's Colorado, because it's Coach Prime, because it's a program that every critic wants to see fail, suddenly it's a problem. And the timing couldn't be more telling. Year 4. 4 full years of Deion Sanders at Colorado. 4 years of success, 4 years of changed culture, 4 years of national attention. And still, people are searching for reasons to hate. They're digging so deep now they're criticizing normal practice activities. Let's break down exactly what went down in this video. Because apparently, we need to explain basic football concepts to people who think they understand the game. The drill is simple, brutally simple actually. During practice, if you commit a penalty, you're coming to the middle of that circle. If you miss an assignment, you're stepping up. If you make a mental error that costs the team, you're owning it publicly. One player steps forward. He committed a penalty during the scrimmage. He stands in front of his teammates and says what he did. He takes ownership. He says, "My bad, guys, that's on me, that won't happen again." Then he drops down and does 5 up-downs while his teammates count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Back to practice. Another player comes up. He missed a wide-open touchdown pass. Could have been 6 points in a real game. Instead, he's admitting it in front of everyone. "I missed the wide-open touchdown to Danny, that's on me." 5 up-downs. Next. The whole process takes maybe 30 seconds per player. It's not some drawn-out humiliation ritual. It's not coaches screaming in someone's face for 10 minutes. It's quick accountability followed by immediate physical reinforcement. You messed up, you own it. You feel the consequence, you move on. And here's the part that should stand out to anyone actually paying attention. The players aren't arguing. They're not making excuses. They're not blaming someone else or the conditions or anything external. They step up, they own their mistake, they take their punishment, and they get back to work. That's maturity. That's team culture. That's what championship programs look like when nobody's watching. Except Colorado has cameras everywhere because of their transparency, so we actually get to see what usually happens behind closed doors at other schools. But apparently, seeing accountability in action is offensive now. Let me say this as clearly as possible for the people in the back who need to hear it. If you have ever played organized football at any competitive level, this is completely normal. Not just normal, expected. High school programs do this. College programs do this. NFL teams do versions of this. When you make a mistake that affects your team, you own it. Sometimes that means running extra sprints. Sometimes it means up-downs. Sometimes it means standing in front of your teammates and admitting you screwed up. Why? Because football is the ultimate team sport. One person's mistake can ruin 11 people's effort. One blown assignment can cost a touchdown. One penalty can kill a drive. So when you mess up, your teammates deserve to know you understand what happened and it won't happen again. The public aspect isn't about embarrassment. It's about trust. When you stand in front of your brothers and say, "I messed up," you're building credibility. You're showing them you can handle accountability. You're proving you're mature enough to own your failures instead of hiding from them. And the physical consequence, that serves a purpose too. Your body remembers things your mind might forget. You do 5 up-downs every time you jump off sides. Eventually, your body will condition itself to stay disciplined. You associate the mistake with immediate discomfort, and your brain works harder to avoid repeating it. This is basic sports psychology. This is coaching 101. This is what separates programs that talk about discipline from programs that actually live it. But here's the disconnect. A lot of these people criticizing Colorado have never been in a locker room. They've never had a coach call them out in front of the team. They've never had to own a mistake while their teammates watch. So to them, this looks harsh. It looks unnecessary. It looks performative. To anyone who's actually played, this looks like Tuesday. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Because this controversy reveals something that Buff Nation has known for a while, but the rest of the college football world keeps pretending doesn't exist. There is a massive double standard in how Colorado gets covered compared to literally every other program. You think Alabama doesn't have accountability drills. You think Nick Saban never made players run for mistakes. You think Georgia doesn't have consequences for mental errors. You think Ohio State just vibes their way through practice with no structure or discipline. Of course they do. Every elite program has systems in place to hold players accountable. Every championship-level coach demands immediate ownership of mistakes. But when Alabama does it, nobody writes articles. When Georgia does it, nobody tweets about toxic culture. When Ohio State does it, nobody says, "I'd never let my kid play there." Why? Because those programs don't put cameras on everything. They don't have YouTube series showing their process. They keep that stuff internal, behind closed doors, away from public scrutiny. Colorado is different. Coach Prime believes in transparency. Behind the Buffs shows the world what goes into building a program. They document the process. They let people see the work, the struggles, the discipline, the culture. And that transparency is now being weaponized against them. People see a normal accountability drill, and because it's on camera, suddenly it must be performative. It must be for show. It must be fake. As if the presence of a camera somehow changes the fundamental purpose of the exercise. That logic is insane. You can't demand authenticity from a program and then criticize them when they actually show you authentic coaching moments. You can't say you want to see behind the curtain and then complain about what you find there. But that's exactly what's happening. Colorado shows the world what championship programs actually do, and instead of respect, they get backlash. Instead of appreciation for the transparency, they get accused of being fake. Let's dig into this, for the camera's criticism, because it's genuinely one of the dumbest takes making the rounds right now. The argument goes like this. Colorado only does these accountability drills because they know cameras are there. It's all a performance. It's all about creating content and looking tough for social media. None of it is real. Okay, let's think about that for 2 seconds. You really believe Deion Sanders, a Hall of Fame player who won at the highest levels, who built his entire legacy on excellence and preparation, is running fake practice drills for YouTube? You really think these players are pretending to care about accountability just for content? That doesn't even make logical sense. For that to be true, It would mean the entire team is in on some elaborate performance. Every player who steps into that circle is acting. Every coach reinforcing the standard is playing a role. The whole thing is theater. Or, and hear me out here, maybe they actually care about discipline, and the cameras just happen to be there documenting what they were already doing. Other programs don't get accused of this because other programs don't show you their process. When you don't see something, you can't criticize it. But the absence of cameras doesn't mean the absence of accountability. It just means you don't know what happens behind those closed doors. Colorado chose a different path. They said we're going to show people what building a program actually looks like. The good, the bad, the mundane, the intense, all of it. And now that transparency is being twisted into evidence of inauthenticity. Think about how backwards that is. The most authentic thing a program can do is show you their real process. But because Colorado does that, they're labeled as fake. Meanwhile, programs that hide everything get the benefit of the doubt. The irony is almost funny, almost. But let's flip this whole situation on its head for a minute. Because while everyone's busy criticizing, they're missing what this drill actually reveals about Colorado football. This team is being coached, not babysat, not coddled, not protected from consequences or criticism. Coached. There's a massive difference. Babysitting is when you make excuses for players, when you avoid confrontation because you don't want to hurt feelings, when you let mistakes slide because addressing them is uncomfortable. That's not coaching. That's hopping talent overcomes sloppiness. Coaching is what we see in this video. It's creating systems that demand excellence. It's building a culture where mediocrity isn't acceptable. It's making sure every player understands that their actions affect the entire team and they need to own their role in success or failure. And here's why that matters right now specifically. Colorado is implementing a new offensive system this year. New coordinator, new schemes, new expectations. That kind of transition requires discipline. It requires attention to detail. It requires players who can handle criticism and correction because you're going to make a lot of mistakes learning something new. If you can't own a penalty in practice without falling apart, how are you going to handle a critical third down in a hostile stadium? If you can't admit you missed an assignment in front of your teammates, how are you going to respond when a coach gets in your face during a game? You won't, simple as that. So what this drill is actually doing is preparing these players for real pressure. It's conditioning them to stay accountable when things get hard. It's building the mental toughness that separates teams that talk about being tough from teams that actually are. And for Buff Nation, this should be encouraging because it tells you the coaching staff isn't taking shortcuts. They're not hopping talent alone carries them. They're putting in the work to build something sustainable. Here's what's really happening with this controversy. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. The same people who spent the last few years saying Colorado has no discipline are now mad that Colorado is showing discipline. The same critics who said this program isn't serious are upset that they're taking practice seriously. The same voices demanding accountability are offended by actual accountability being implemented. You can't win with these people. That's the point. The goalposts move constantly to ensure Colorado is always wrong. If they're loose and fun in practice, it's they don't care about winning. If they're intense and structured, it's toxic culture. If they recruit flashy players, it's all hype. If they develop under-the-radar guys, it's couldn't get the elite talent. If they're confident, it's arrogant. If they're humble, it's fake. No matter what Colorado does, there's a narrative ready to spin it negatively. And this practice drill situation is the perfect example of that manufactured outrage cycle in action. People who have never coached a day in their lives are saying, "I'd never let my kid play there." Okay, first of all, your kid probably isn't getting a Division I scholarship, so that's not really a decision you're going to face. But more importantly, What exactly would you not let your kid experience? Accountability, discipline, consequences for mistakes. Those are the things you should want your kid to learn. Those are the qualities that translate beyond football into life. Learning to own your failures, face them publicly, and move forward stronger is literally one of the most valuable lessons sports can teach. But we've reached a point where some people are so desperate to hate on Colorado that they'll criticize the exact things they should be praising. They'll find fault in fundamental coaching because it's happening at a program they want to see fail. And 4 years in, the hate hasn't subsided. If anything, it's gotten more creative, more reaching, more desperate. So let's bring this all together, because there's a bigger picture here that goes beyond one practice drill and one manufactured controversy. What we're really seeing is the difference between programs that are coached and programs that are babysat, between cultures that demand excellence and cultures that accept mediocrity, between teams that build champions and teams that hope talent alone is enough. Colorado is showing everyone what the first category looks like: real accountability, real consequences, real standards that every player is held to regardless of star rating or social media followers. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, not because it's wrong, but because it's real. It's harder. It requires more from everyone involved. Coaches have to actually coach instead of just recruiting. Players have to actually grow instead of just relying on physical gifts. The whole organization has to commit to a standard and maintain it even when nobody's watching. Except in Colorado's case, people are always watching. The cameras are always there. The transparency is always present. And that means we get to see what championship culture actually looks like when it's being built from the ground up. This accountability drill isn't a scandal. It's not toxic. It's not performative. It's football. Real football. The kind that wins games and develops men and creates teams that trust each other because they know everyone is held to the same standard. Buff Nation understands this. Anyone who's actually played competitive football understands this. The only people confused are the ones who have never been in that environment and don't understand what it takes to build something real. So here's the question everyone should be asking. Is this actually a problem? Or are people just reaching because they want Colorado to fail and they'll criticize anything, even normal football activities, to try to tear down what's being built in Boulder? I think we all know the answer, and I think the critics know it too. That's why they're getting so desperate. That's why a simple practice drill becomes a national story. That's why everything Colorado does gets scrutinized at a level no other program faces. Because deep down, they see what's happening. They see a program being built the right way. They see a culture that doesn't compromise. They see players being held accountable and coaches who actually coach instead of babysit. And that terrifies them. Because if Colorado succeeds doing it this way, it exposes everyone who's been making excuses. It proves that discipline and accountability and transparency can win. It shows that you don't have to hide your process or lower your standards or accept mediocrity. So they'll keep hatting. They'll keep finding new things to criticize. They'll keep moving the goalposts and manufacturing controversies out of normal football activities. Because the alternative is admitting that Colorado is doing something right, and some people will never be able to do that. But Buff Nation knows what's up. We see the work being put in. We see the culture being built. We see the standard being maintained. And we know that when the season starts and the games matter, all this noise will fade away and the only thing that will speak is the results. Until then, let them hate. Let them criticize practice drills. Let them reach for anything they can find to tear down what's being built. Because at the end of the day, that accountability drill they're so mad about, that's going to be the reason Colorado wins games they weren't supposed to win. That's going to be the foundation of a team that doesn't quit when things get hard. That's going to be what separates Colorado from programs that are all talk and no discipline. And when that happens, when the wins start stacking up and the culture produces results, all these critics will either stay silent or find something new to complain about. Because the one thing they'll never do is admit they were wrong. But we don't need their admission. We just need the scoreboard, and the scoreboard doesn't lie. So to answer the original question, is this actually a problem, or are they just hatting again? You already know. Buff Nation knows, and deep down, even the haters know. They're just reaching like they always do, like they always will. And Colorado, they'll keep coaching. They'll keep holding players accountable. They'll keep building something real while everyone else talks. That's the difference between programs that win and programs that make excuses. Colorado chose which one they want to be, and no amount of manufactured outrage over a basic practice drill is going to change that.